back to my series on starting Rock under saddle. So we are at a brand new campground this time, and I have ridden him in between the last video and this video, but just working on many of the basic stuff that we had covered in the previous video. And unfortunately, ever since we left the last campground, we haven't been too consistent just because the weather had a really weird few days where it was like super cold, windy, and rainy. And so, he had a few days off and then a few days on, a few days off, a few days on. One thing I've noticed about him is he does better when he has a longer time in between sessions. I guess he just has a longer time to comprehend what he's learned and everything. So he had a day off before this session. So right now I got on him. He's just bulking a little bit. And I'm past the point of like mounting up and then getting off to like release. So I sat on him longer now. I asked him to walk forward and he's just bulking, which is normal. Usually when we start out, it takes him a few minutes to like kind of get in his groove. So, since he stopped so many times, the next time he stops, I want to ask him to stop. I don't want him to make that decision. I'm making that decision. So I asked him to stop there. I'm going to give him a treat so he knows that that was the right thing, and then we'll move on. So, what I've been working on with him since we've gotten to this campground is more so just some more technical things to get his mind thinking. Like, we've worked a lot on opening the gate to the round pen, and he's really good at that now, and he has it like memorized how to do it. Obviously, continuing to move forward is a big thing for him. So, once he gets past his first few minutes under saddle, he kind of like eases up and he figures it out. So, right here. So, I'm going to ask him to stop again so that I can provide that reward for him. And that's one thing I'm really diligent about is, when he's bulking, he's usually making the decision to come to the stop. So I want to make sure I'm asking him to stop and reaffirming that. And right now we're just making sure he's going to behave in the round pen because today I actually want to go outside of the round pen kind of for the first time. I've been riding him, I'll open the gate, I'll ride out of the round pen, and then I'll ride to the trailer and get off. So I want to kind of expand on that. That was his release for there, since he did go around the round pen and he did pretty good. I got off of him for the release and I give him a treat. And then we're going to start working on getting out of the round pen. And my goal with this, so previously, and I didn't film it unfortunately, my goal with this is I opened the gate from the round pen, I went out of the round pen, and then I came back in, and he just really had a hard time like riding past the open gate. So that's what I want to work on today. I'm very like adamant about working horses around open gates because when I was young, I had this pony that bolted out of an open gate once with me on it and like took off across the field bucking. And ever since then, I'm like, yeah, my horses aren't going to do that. So it's one of those things where as soon as I am on a horse and I'm in control of the horse, that is something we start working on. And I found that if you work on that from the beginning, the horse will quickly just learn to ignore it and they're much more accepting of it. And so here I just need to get to where I can get the latch of the gate and watch Ruach. He hasn't memorized. He'll do his little backup. I don't even have to ask him anymore. He's like, okay, the gate's opening. And he knows to back up. So that's also how I've been training him to back up under saddle. But instead of steering around and going through the gate right away this time, I'm going to steer away from it. And as soon as he can take a few steps away, I'm going to stop him and reward him because the last time I did this, he did not really want to go away from the gate. So he did pretty good here. He was pretty forward. I asked him to come to a stop. But I highly recommend if you're starting a young horse, make this something you work on with them. It's really good for them because it provides them with an opportunity of, okay, here's something you probably want to do is run out of the gate, but I'm going to ask you to not do it. And so it's kind of like pushing them to better themselves a little bit, So I want to walk around the whole arena before we go out of the gate. And even then, I'm going to make sure he walks past it before I let him go out of it. And so you'll see him here. Once we get closer to it, he definitely bulks and is thinking about, like, okay, I want to go out of this thing. But one thing I'll say is he's gotten really good about just respecting my flexing left and right. Because if you all remember in the previous training videos, like, that was one thing he would do is, like, he would fight the tension of if I asked him to flex his neck, he may, like, throw his head up and try to throw his head the other way. But ever since we've gotten to this campground, he's been really good about that and about giving to the pressure. So now I'm like, okay, let's walk towards the gate. But then I trick him and I ask him to do something different just to see how he would react. And initially he was like, the gate's back there. But I asked him to move forward. He willingly did it. So he's gonna get a treat for that. And if you see the length of this video, it's about 8 minutes 30 seconds. That's how long I rode him in this session. So I kept it very short. But we got a lot done, I feel. So now we're actually going to go out of the gate. It's a big deal. I don't want him rushing out of the gate. So he did very well, you know, he stopped. I have always stopped him outside of the gate to give him a treat, so he knows, okay, you're out of the gate, you made it out here. Now it's time to remain calm. So this is his first day, actually. We're not in a big arena. This is just a wide open space outside of the round pen. So I'm keeping the fence on one side of me just to kind of mirror the idea of enclosure security. But at the same time, we do have this wide open space around us. So this is starting to introduce him to the trails, because after this campground, the campgrounds we're going do not have facilities like round pens and arenas. So if I get on Ruach, we are going to be out in open space or on the trail. So I want to start seeing how he will do with that. One thing I noticed with him is he did move out much more, like his walk was a lot bigger. I haven't ever felt like I could get him to trot yet, just because he just seems a little unsure about moving forward. But out here, I felt like I could. Now, I will say, I am not ready to ask him to trot yet, because I want to make sure I have control. Because remember what I said about horses bucking, bolting, and rearing? Once that is something you ask them, or once that is something they experience, they add it to their little arsenal. And it's the same thing with trotting. So once he knows he can trot under saddle, he's going to add that to his little arsenal. So right now, I don't want it added to the arsenal. I want to keep working on these really basic things. Like here we are going back into the round pen. Yesterday he bulked pretty bad when I asked him to do that. This time he walked in there pretty confident, so I gave him a treat. Now to end the session, we're just going to walk around the round pen again, walk deeper into it to make sure he's not going to throw a fit about being away from the gate, and then we're going to end the session. And so I think he has done really good. We are still just pushing past a few little things, but overall it's going in the direction I want. The great thing about having a 3-year-old and not having the pressure to start them in 30 to 60 days is that I can take as long as I want and I can go as slow as I want. And it's such a great feeling, because with Ruach, I really want to just focus on these things that I want to see in him further down the line. And he's the horse where I feel like I've gained all this training experience, and now is my opportunity to use it and see how it goes. So I want to be really diligent with him. So here, he showed a sign of frustration. He pawed. He's ready to end his session. I asked him for a few more steps because we always halt at the bottom of this little kind of decline. And so I asked him to go down the decline so we can wrap up our session. So, you know, he did pretty good. We rode him pretty consistently. I only got off once. And that's probably the longest ride where I've actually been on him. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to check out our Etsy store if you'd like to support us, and I will see you in the next video.